She said blah 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 blah. So I'm like blah 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 wah wah wah. She get blah 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 blah. She said.
So you watched the movie Challengers, you were intrigued by the scintillating love triangle, tennis core is now part of your personality, and you wish Phil's Tire Town Challenger was an actual lead-in to the US Open. But did you know there were actually 10 challengers in the 2 weeks leading into the US Open this year? 2 being in the United States? If you were in Lincoln, Nebraska, you could have watched Chris Eubanks courtside before he headed out to New York, where you could only get those same views on a TV screen. What are challengers? How many are there? Who plays them? And what could winning one mean for the career of a tennis player? In November, I jumped on a plane to the college town of Champaign, Illinois to find out. What are the real challengers? US Open, Roland Garros, Wimbledon, Australian Open. These are the names you know, where the top of the game plays for the big prizes in the big cities. New York, Paris, London, Melbourne. It's lights, camera, action. It's where you want to be, but you have to start somewhere. You start from the beginning.
So I would say it's the level just below the top level of professional tennis. It's sort of like the feeder system that we have.
I think the closest comparison would be like AAA baseball. So I'd say like the highest level before you get to like the tour, I guess.
I like to compare it to golf. It's like the Corn Ferry Tour. So we're not earning our cards, but we're just trying to get points to get into ATP events.
We don't like always saying minor leagues of tennis, but it's essentially that one step down for players who are maybe not directly into the Grand Slams, which is where obviously everybody pays the most attention. Players who are ranked anywhere from about 100 to 300 or so in the world, they have to find places to play and move up in the rankings, and this is kind of just that opportunity. It's like that growing opportunities for players to kind of learn who they are as players and make their way into the top 100. So we always talk about it being the pathway to that big stardom that everybody knows.
In the US, there were 23 challenger tournaments all over the country in 2024. The Payne Schwartz Partners Challenger was the last one held in the US this year. It's part of a trio of challenger tournaments, the results of which affect who is picked as the American recipient of a wild card to the main draw of the Australian Open. Point of order. In this video, I will be addressing challengers on the ATP Men's Tour. There are challenger level events on the WTA Women's Tour known as WTA 125s. They're effectively similar level tournaments, just run by a different organization. Now back to Champaign. This specific challenger was held on a university campus and was a smaller venue. It was a 75 level event, which correlates to the number of points you can earn if you win the event. On the ATP, the challengers go from 50 to 175 and are held at various locales from university gyms to pretty large purpose-built venues. So who plays this level of tournament?
Players that you see here are either working their way up or potentially have been at the top level and maybe have dropped a little for various reasons, injury problems, whatnot, and are trying to make their way back again.
A third of the competitors at this level are the back and forth to the 250s, 500s, and Masters. So tennis is the only sport where there's no guaranteed contracts, there's no guaranteed anything. If I had a great year last year and I don't back it up this year, I fall back. So then I have to come back to this level and reestablish myself. And if you notice, a lot of the guys that have fallen out in the last 2 years can't make it back up because the level here is so good. And like for a casual tennis fan, all those people that you see at the Grand Slams with the Q next to their name that qualified in, and start looking now, they're winning a lot more matches than they ever used to. There's a lot of guys going from qualifier to third round at these slams. They're all playing these events every week. And I think these events, if you can make it through them, the mental toughness that you gain from here is unmatched.
Yeah.
It's
build a lot of character, that's for sure.
You do.
Challengers feature a lot of young players starting out trying to build their rankings, but also well-known names, either coming back from injury or a drop in their rankings to help build back confidence. But what is it like for these players and coaches on the Challenger Tour? In Champaign, I got to talk to various players, coaches, and the voice of the Challenger Tour about the realities of playing at this level.
Yeah, it's really kind of a twofold, well, maybe threefold situation. First, you have those up-and-coming players, and this year, you know, the great examples that the names that people might know are Lerner Tien and Nishesh Basavareddy. Last year was Alex Mickelson. The year before that was Ben Shelton. So you have those up-and-coming guys who you know are going to be top 50 players and beyond. Then you have this group that's kind of the core group who are maybe in that range of about 75 in the world to 150 in the world. So they're not necessarily, probably will never be those guys who are top 20 in the world, never going to reach a Grand Slam quarterfinal, but are going to have very productive careers and are those people who are in the first, second, third round of Grand Slams year in, year out. And then you have those lower ranked players who are trying to figure out at the age of 23, 24 if this is a viable career for them, if they can make that jump into Grand Slam qualification. So it's mostly this kind of fluctuating group of players. You also have some players who are dropping back and playing because they've been injured and need to get that ranking back up. So you just have this amalgamation of players at various stages of their careers. And everybody here at this level, there's a level of urgency, of desperation for a lot of these players, and that's what I think has always, for me, made Challenger tennis the most exciting brand of tennis.
As a newly minted tennis fan, Challengers offer a great opportunity to see the action up close and personal in a way that is not possible or affordable at larger tournaments.
Yeah, I think it's great, the Challenger circuit. I think when you look at the sort of, everyone has to go through it. At the end of the day, you know, some people do it, you know, maybe Nadal did it in 2 months, but you have to play them. Otherwise, you don't just start off top 100, you have to earn the right, and to do that, you have to go through the Challenger circuit. And Ben Shelton, I remember I was just in college when he went on that massive run, and he basically finished his college season at, I don't know, maybe 600-ish, I guess. I'm not sure exactly, but then I remember he ended the year top 100, and it's suddenly like, well, you won't see him at a Challenger again. He's completed it, he's graduated, he's going to go on to, you know, the tour.
For example, Chris Eubanks is here.
That was the name that, like, let's say you go to New York and go to the US Open and you want to see Chris play. Chances are you're not going to be able to see him play from like here to there. Like here, Chris was practicing for like an hour and a half over there, and if you really wanted to, you could be like right on the court and watch and appreciate and who knows, maybe interact or something like that, which that part of Challengers I think is really, really cool.
You can have bragging rights to have seen Nishesh Basavareddy before he turned pro and played his first main draw of a slam, which he's doing next year in the Australian Open. If you were at the Arizona Challenger in March, you got up close and personal with Matteo Berrettini as he was making his comeback after returning to the tour from injury. And who doesn't want to get up close and personal with Matteo Berrettini? Anyway, back to the tennis.
Last 2 weeks ago in Charlottesville, Mark Lehal is playing Lerner Tien, and both guys, in my opinion, are going to be top 100 players. And they're playing in front of 5 people in Charlottesville. And it's like, that's the tough part of it, is you're truly out there by yourself. In America, it's a little different. They're treated differently in Europe and in other places in the world. In Europe, Challengers are a big draw because people know the names and people are a little more
in tune with what tennis is,
yeah,
what the level is.
So I think a lot of people in the U.S. in these towns, if they knew this was going on, we do a pretty poor job of marketing it. if they knew this was going on, this is their chance that they don't have to fly to Indian Wells or to New York to go see this level of tennis. Like a lot of these guys here, I could count 5 or 6 that you're going to see on big stadiums in the next few years.
While you might be paying $150 for a ground pass to the US Open or much more for a seat at one of the main stadiums at Flushing Meadows, $10 to $25 can get you a front row seat to some world-class tennis at a challenger. The first challenger scheduled in the US is the Cleveland Open, which is coming this January. Entry into the tournament during the week is free. And how can you beat free to some world-class tennis, where you and a few friends can watch a fuzzy yellow tennis ball glide through the air and live out your challenger fantasy?